Hi everyone and welcome back. John's here today. You'll see and hear John at some point. John owns the Triumph, by the way. If anyone's ever got any questions for John, or if they want to come down and meet him when he's here, I can always let you know when he's here. Feel free. Great guy. Been messing with vehicles his whole life. So when I was very, very young, John was driving the vehicles I quite liked at the time. I quite admired. So John gave me the XJ550 many years back, and I loved it. And he chopped the tail down, and I absolutely loved it. And that was the one that got set alight in the local petrol station. I went for a drink one night and I parked it, not literally at a pump. I tucked it away in a petrol station, which was quite common back then. Bikes did park there. But I drank alcohol, so I went home, which was the right thing to do, on foot. And I come back for it the next day in a car. I got my dad to drive me back then. This was 15 years ago. And the bike had been pushed over and set alight. I remember recovering the bike, getting it home, but I don't ever remember what I did with it after that, which is interesting. I'd be really curious. I don't know the reg or anything. I'm not sure. John might remember it. But yeah, so this bike seems okay overall. What I want to do is pop the carbs at some point. So I've done all this work, and it's just a bit up and down on its idle. So I just want to make sure that there doesn't appear to be any air leaks. I checked that earlier, actually, today. And so I think the carbs will just need a good clean and a balance for it to be synchronized properly. So at some point, tank off, seat off, carbs off, clean, and get them trimmed and stuff and balanced. Over here, I'm just putting the throttle body back on. It's a bit early. I really need to get this this arm back in. The top one's in. I need to get this bottom one back in. But it takes manipulation with the bike, which I think John will be able to help with when he gets here. So it might be that we pull the bike backwards, hold the rear brake, the engine comes forwards, and that lines up, and then I'll throw the bolt in. But it needs to go in, and then we nip everything up properly so it's secure. And then from there, I'd be testing it. I'd be starting it. Oil dip is the first thing we'd do. We should do an oil dip now while it's sitting. Actually, let me get a cloth. Right, where am I here? Now, if I fired up an engine with someone else's oil, it will just be to check that the engine works at all. Other than that, I'll be dropping the oil and putting fresh in. That's important. So this is a dipstick, so you dip it like that and you pull it out and you check your oil. And actually, look, there's basically none in there, so that's a bad sign to start with. But I'm gonna top that up before firing it even once. Then in fact, I'm going to top it up right now while it's in mind. So there's enough oil in it now, just in case at any point someone presses that button. That's super important. Really important. If you tried that up with that level of oil, you'd have been screwed. The engine wouldn't have lasted minutes. Always check the oil. And actually, thinking about it, it's very common that people drain the oil out of engines before sale. They drain the liquids. So don't fail on that, guys. Check the oil always. Right. I'm not going to film it. It's boring, but I'm just going to have to start tucking everything away, electrics, putting them around here and there, and blah blah blah, and getting all this plugged in, and then when John's back, I'll look at the last bolt down the bottom, and then I'll nip up everything else, and then we'll go for a startup. I was meant to do the whole horn and stuff on this, but there's no point. I think the carb needs to come off next for a bit of a carb clean, and while John's here, it's probably a good idea to get that done. He's quite handy. So I'm down here messing around getting all this sorted, and from there we'll look at startup. I think the battery's still in it, but maybe not connected, so it should start up really. Let's not speak too soon though. Okay, so unless I've missed something obvious, I think it's ready for startup. I think there's meant to be a pipe from there to there, or 2 separate pipes. I'm gonna have to look that up. It'll be here somewhere if I have it. But that's not an issue at this stage. We should still see a basic start. No, I'm not ready. Look, spark plug. Spark plug. I need to go and get that. That's interesting. Let me find that. I don't remember seeing it. Actually, did I? Yeah, I popped it on the last video. Otherwise, everything else seems ready for a basic startup, including the oil level. So we've got oil. We should have spark. Everything appears to be ready. Let's prime the fuel and check on that a couple of times. It's always very nerve-wracking when you've done work to something. Ready? Yep. Well, that was weird. It needed a minute there, didn't it?
The fuel injection, you can't follow it.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to keep pressing start and start.
That's right. That's right. You can't follow it.
I think it's moving. Yeah, you got to start it.
That sounds smooth enough. I got fresh oil in there. 2 or 3 minutes sitting. A bit of oil on the exhaust. Didn't like a rev there.
I thought the back was fine trying to start it.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but a tiny bit up and down.
Something like this one.
Let me run it without the airbox.
Sounded like it's running alright.
Yeah, they're usually really solid engines. There's rarely an issue. Where was one?
You took both of them.
Got one hanging in here.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Look at the air filter, Charlie. Look quite.
Leave it out then and we'll have a play in a minute.
Look at the air filter, Charlie. It look quite dirty, Charlie.
I'm just going to screw them in. Yeah.
It look quite watery, the air filter.
Pop it off, there's a Phillips down there. Yeah, box. Oh my god,
What did I say?
Wow.
What did I say? I knew it, Charlie, man. When I looked at it, I said, Charlie,
It's been left out in the yard, isn't it?
That is
what did I say, Charlie? I
that
knew it.
is unsavable. That is
Rabjab is
ridiculous.
the
I'm
But
learning,
that's
man.
but that's from the original engine.
That's probably what caused it to go in the first place.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Look, it's
When I
true.
looked at it, Charlie, I knew it was like something wrong.
I can't. What the hell?
There's something pooed in there, something.
I can't believe that. That came from the original engine.
That's probably what fucked up in the first place.
Yeah, well, I think the original ran out of oil.
It ends up in the
I don't have any spares. I mean, that would explain why it won't start, actually.
Need another engine again.
It shouldn't start without it as well, to be fair, so it does need that. They're quite fine-tuned,
Where's the
fuel
the other
injected.
engine in there? Filter? Is that good?
It didn't come with one. The new one didn't come with one. Let me clean this. I've got fuel. I'll clean it all out. We'll see where we go from there. I've cleaned up that. That's just soaking. That's unsavable. These engines don't like to start. We saw that in the past with anything like that. What that was not this engine, but the original engine at some point would have been over on its side and left there. What happens then is oil creeps up and into the airbox. And John was right, possibly contributing to the original issue. So that's that engine, not this one. At this stage, this one appears to be okay, but it does need its specific air ratio to function. So my guess is next weekend with a new air filter, my guess is this will just fire up happily and be okay. I feel like we heard that. It idled so well. I feel like we heard that. So I think, unless I've got one, I feel like I do have one, but if I haven't, I think this is going to be putting aside now, and I'll be waiting on that air filter. We're just trying to do the wiring on John's again, because we keep losing it and we need to mark it. And then I'm going to pop the tank off here, which Rabjab started half an hour ago. He hasn't turned one bolt. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, you took off the air filter. Yeah, let me just check. I'm sure I've seen one recently. I thought I might have had a filter, but I don't. So we're gonna have to wait till next week to continue this project, which is fine. It needs to be right, so time is fine. I'm gonna push this away and let's get the carbs off, give them a quick clean on that so we can get that running a little bit smoother than it is. What's happening at the moment is I'll fire it up and then I adjust the idle down, and then the revs go too low, and then I adjust the idle up and the revs go too high, and then there's fluctuation and blah 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 blah. It's just kind of a bit all over the place. So my aim is to pop the carbs off, give them a good clean, baseline set them all, and we'll go from there and see if it feels a bit happier.